All right. We're going to do a random stream there. Sorry for the all right or something like that. It's just that people can't think of anything interesting to say at the beginning, so I had to hell with it. Just an explanation. But while I wait for folks to come in, kind of stumble in here like a bar, it's okay. You can say what you will here, and everyone's got the rent, so. And everybody knows your name. Right? Okay. I don't know why my. Oh, what's going on, Timogen? I want to talk about false solidarity. I want to talk about that because I think it's important to mention. What's going on, Nosbo Jedi? I think it's important to talk about false solidarity because I think it's important. What is false solidarity? Well, or maybe it should be. Maybe I should call it contradictory solidarity. I just got through watching. They were talking to this guy Shang Yu on Dust Jones, and I watched a little bit of that. And he's all right. He's a decent guy. I mean, I didn't really care for his LARPer outfit, his Mao suit and everything, but I guess he's an all right guy. I mean, he probably lives out in Cali somewhere or something, whatever. And they still fuck with Facebook. I don't fuck with Facebook anymore. But, it was interesting to me where he's like, well, to be an anti-capitalist, you have to be an anti-imperialist. It's like, okay. But then, I hear them say, well, it's like, well, we have to support the LGBTQ community. And it's like, how can you support the LGBTQ community and be against anti-imperialism? Think about it. And I don't think that this is just purely, reactionary nonsense. I think that there's some truth to this that does need to be talked about. And I think people like, as much as they tried to twist it around, I think that Caleb Maupin tried to talk about it a little bit and to show that, yeah, the gay rights movement was kind of co-opted by capitalism, and that, they did allow pedophilia, this and that. Hello, Ole. I think that's important to say. It's like, how can you, simultaneously support oppressed nations like the Chicano nation or the, the Black nation, if you will, or the new African nation, but then also support the LGBTQ movement? It's like that's so, is that because, of course, when you think of the LGBTQ movement, you think of the corporations that give money to these movements to give a shit about. They give them to they give it to GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Which really, the only thing I can really think of with that is that they hated Eminem and were trying to ban his album. Back in 1999, the Marshall Mathers LP. So it's like, for me, when I hear that, you simultaneously have solidarity with these folks, but then, randomly also have solidarity with, these other groups, it's like, I don't really, oh, he lives in Virginia? Oh, okay. Oh, near Richmond? Oh, okay. He lives, okay. That's even weirder. Yeah. But it's like, I mean, to me, I don't really get it, where it's like simultaneously you can support, the LGBTQ movement, also support folks that probably don't fully agree with that. It's funny to me. It's like, I think it's Comrade Natalie, I think on Twitter, who is part of, like one of these, friendship movements with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And I say to myself, I don't think North Korea gives a shit about the LGBTQ community because they themselves don't even acknowledge it. It's like, yeah, Cuba may acknowledge it, but, it's a different sort of thing, right? So I don't really get that whole thing. I mean, ultimately, it's just there to provide lip service. Like, yeah, we have a trainee that likes us. Hey, we're inclusive. In reality, they don't give a shit. That's my view anyway. I'm sure I pissed some folks off with that, but I feel like that it needs to be said. I feel like that needs to be said because you got a lot of these folks who are just like, well, solidarity with them. It's like, look, it's a false dichotomy. Not even a dialectic necessarily, but a false dichotomy to be like, well, yeah, we support the LGBTQ movement or whatever. Ugh. It's like, oh, really? You support these cringy sort of, these freak show sort of gay pride parades where they're all dressed in pleather and everything. I don't think you support all that. I don't think anyone in their right mind would support all that. As far as I know, those sort of gay pride parades only take place in countries that are controlled by U.S. imperialism, right? So when you say, that's the interesting bit, is that they don't, is that a lot of MLs and a lot of these bread tubers, and I know those are two different things, I do realize that, but they don't really go into depth about that, do they? They really don't. So I think that's important to say, because it's like, okay, you got to find some sort of delineation there between what the real quote unquote LGBTQ, communities are like, the real ones, versus the false, synthetic LGBTQ movements, or the LGBTQ groups like GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. You have to make that separation and say, yeah, these are the motherfuckers we fuck with. These are the folks that are fake. These are the suckers, and you need to make that, I'm just repeating myself. I'm sorry for being a boomer, but that's how I feel. Like, okay, that's how it is. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, and you have a lot of these false things that when you get deep into politics, these are the sorts of games that you play. It's like I saw that guy Benji, I think he's Australian or possibly an Anglo, on Twitter, and he'll be like, no, it's like, you need to watch Oliver Stone's documentary. And it's like, nigga, I don't give a fuck about it. It's like, why would you support Oliver Stone? That guy's a fucking millionaire. Made movies which, continue to, support the, it's like created movies like Scarface. Much as I do like that movie, I can see that it was exploitation. They made it seem like it was cool to be a drug dealer and all that sort of thing. They created that image. And of course, people like you don't even fucking realize it, where it's like, well, he's somewhat anti-imperialist. I don't give a fuck how anti-imperialist he is or how much he claims to do. But it's like, how are you going to support a bitch nigga like that? A guy who's made millions of dollars, who was snorting coke writing the script for Scarface, the 1984 version, not the 1920s version with Paul Muni. But oh, he's a Kiwi? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There you go. But it's like, I don't get that type of shit where it's like, well, we have to support progressive sorts of movements, this and that. It's just like, it's bullshit. And I do like, it's like, I didn't completely agree with everything Xiang Yu was saying, because it's like, all right, he's got the LARPer outfit on, he obviously raps in Mandarin. It's like, okay, it's like, I get it, but it's it's a good shtick. But I don't really think that's a true thing. It's like, if you were really Chinese, why wouldn't you be in a Chinese? It's like, I don't know, man. Like I say, maybe that's somewhat of my own prejudice, but it's like, I don't get that type of thing, Yeah. In Japan and South Korea, the LGBTQ marches are done by people who dress modestly, unlike the decadent U.S. and its Western allies. Yep. I think they're trying to change that. I think I've seen little bits here where they're trying to change that idea of, Japan and South Korea being a little bit more modest. But I mean, that's my whole thing, though, is I just don't like the hypocrisy of it. And the more you really get deeper into politics, you realize just how hypocritical it is. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Marxist-Leninist, a fascist, a Democrat, or Republican. It's all hypocrisy. And that you're never going to get 100% what you want. You're just going to get good enough, But even then, you're going to get what you want, because you're going to get a private jet and all that sort of thing and everything else, That's always the way it's been. I mean, some of this is somewhat black pill, but I feel like there's going to be a time if the United States, there's all sorts of opinions about what could happen with the United States and how bad it's going to get. It's like, I haven't read, but I really do want to read, I think it's John Michael Greer, and he's written books, of course, about kind of the collapse of the United States and kind of going more into like a medieval state. I think that the United States will eventually kind of, internet will go away and we'll have to go back to more of an agrarian society, sort of medieval, sort of, I'm trying to think of but feudalistic society, And of course, I mean, who knows if that's going to be realistic, but I think like, you know, what's going to fill the void, you know? And you're going to see these ML guys, or at least someone who claims to be a Marxist-Leninist. I guarantee you, some of those folks are just going to join parties, and they will become bureaucrats, So it's important to say, it's like, are people really your comrades, or are they just people that want to have a comfortable life? That's really the question you need to ask. It's like I can read. I think this is one of the separations, I think, between folks, is that I can read a book and appreciate some of the facts that may be in it or whatever, but I can just read a book and just put it down. I'm older at this point, where it's like my opinions are pretty well formed, good, bad, right, or wrong. When you're young, you can read a book and feel like, I need to spread this information to everybody. Yes, yes, yes. But it's like when you're older, you can read a book, be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Maybe I'll use it as a talking point. But other than that, I don't really care. Yeah. Future oligarchs in the making. Yep, exactly. Yeah, oligarchs or bureaucrats. I mean, that term is kind of interchangeable, but yeah. That's why I don't really care that much when people claim to be, comrades or this and that, because to me, it's still idealism. As much as they say they're against idealism and against, all that sort of thing, is that ultimately it is somewhat idealistic to be like, well, we're going to have a socialist society. And, it's like, I know Mantis, I don't know if he's still listening. I know that he's out in Philly, but it's like, he'll just say, well, yeah, once the United States breaks up into various countries, they'll all be anti-imperialists. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. That's nice to say, but I don't live in that fantasy. Yeah. Anytime someone tries to call out LGBTQ, they're immediately labeled as homophobe or transphobe. Exactly. That is true. They are. I mean, that's really my attitude, where it's like, I'm trying to be very careful about what I say, because like I think even hard right-wing sort of folks, quote unquote, dissident right folks, can think that Marx and Lenin and even Stalin had good points to make about capitalism, and made good points about, the way capitalism works and how, society can be changed for the better. But they don't want to go along with, this sort of destruction of, history, this and that, or this idea, like Lenin wrote, where we are dialectical materialists, we're positively against religion, And I know people are going to say, well, you're taking that out of context. What about the other things that Lenin wrote? It's like, okay, yeah, he did write other things about religion. And yeah, he did say things like, yeah, I wish we went more towards a primitive version of Christianity and not the Catholic Church version or whatever. It's like, okay, I get that. But it's like, come on. People are kind of hypocritical. I do understand that. But you have to remember, people like me, we're just kind of... I give lip service to ideas and not necessarily give a shit about them. That's how I feel. But yeah. CPI stream on Caleb's channel. I did not see that. No. Yeah. Yeah. And queers get bashed for calling out how anything to do with their community getting called by cultural capitalism. Yeah. Yep. Like I say, it's just one of those things, man. It's like I try not to talk about the LGBTQ stuff, because ultimately it has zero to do with me. And I know that people say, well, it's all interconnected and ultimately does have something to do with you. But it's like, in general, I don't see it on a day-to-day basis. I may notice it here and there, but it isn't something that I look at and purposefully try to talk about, because ultimately it has nothing to do with me. I keep my distance from it, and you can say that's cringe, or you can say, I just don't get involved with it, period. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you see this idea of solidarity, this and that. It's like, in the West, unless you have a whole lot of money, then you don't have any sort of reason. It's lip service. It's not solidarity. It's lip service. When it's like, yeah, we support the DPRK. It's like, yeah, I can appreciate the DPRK. I can appreciate what Iran's doing. But it's like, ultimately, I don't have anything to give them. And they can't do anything for me. So it's like, ultimately, it's not really solidarity. It's just, it's only solidarity on your end, at least the way you want to see it, to make yourself feel better. They don't give a shit about you. You know, if you think that the North Koreans, I say this loose, I'm trying to be very careful about the way I say DPRK versus North Korea, but it's like North Koreans don't give a fuck about you. They're like, they may hate you to a point, but overall they're just indifferent to you because they're like, well, we're going to survive regardless. But yeah, I feel the same way, Olays. I'm indifferent about it as well. I really don't care. I think it's something that gets way overblown, that people just say it for virtue signaling. You know? That's why I don't get into it that much. The idea of intersectionality, this and that. Intersectionality ruined the left, I think. The idea of intersectionality. And it's like intersecting ideas, this and that. Those ideas that came out, probably in like the 60s and 70s, that destroyed the left in a lot of ways, And it led to this creation of Nazbol. That's why, you have Nazbol as an insult, because it's like people didn't really give a shit about those ideas. And so that's why you have these folks who call themselves Nazbols because of it. Because like, well, that's kind of what things used to be. It used to be about economics and about, those types of issues. That's why people call themselves that. But of course, you just, Nazbol, Strasserists, and it's like, you ask them a basic question is, okay, well, it's like, well, tell me about Lemonov. If you know so much about Nazbol and Strasserism, well, tell me about Lemonov. And blah, 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 I don't know anything about it. Shut up, you. Shut up. And that's all they can do, right? You didn't miss that much, Gukarin. You didn't miss that much. Basically, we're just ranting about false solidarity, where it's like, we're going to support the LGBTQ community, but we're also going to support, Aslan, some Chicano national, some Chicano state. It doesn't make any sense, where it's like, you can't really support those two things, yeah. Lefty Pole was originally anti-id pole gang. Yeah, maybe so. I've never been on there, so I can't really say, but yeah. I mean, that's my attitude anyway. It's just, there's a lot of fake shit that goes on, a lot of false ideas, and it's lip service, basically. Solidarity today is just lip service. That's all it is. It's like, we can give a fuck about it in words, but we don't give a fuck about it in real life. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whatever shit comes out of your mouth. You don't have any sort of authority. You don't have any sort of resources. You don't have any material to really do anything. Yeah. I remember that video. Yeah. Nazbols and Strasserites. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It's funny too, because he did a video, of course, about the incel shooter. Apparently, Alec Manassian is claiming that his autism caused those murders. It's kind of funny. It's like, for those that remember, I'm running through these holes like Alec Manasseh. Yeah, shout out to Eggy. But yeah. Let me see here. Yeah. Let me see here. Okay, this is 1 day ago. Global news. I'll just read this. I'm not even going to share the screen. Let me see what we got here. To seal interviews of Alec Manassian that psychiatrist says may incite violence. Overseeing the van attack trial has begrudgingly granted a request to seal all recordings of interviews of the accused with an American psychologist who had warned the videos could incite more violence if made public. So they're going to be leaked and they're going to cause trouble, basically. While the audio and video of Alec Manassian's interviews with Dr. Westphal will not be released publicly, has allowed journalists to view the recordings when they're presented in court. Court has set up a special room in downtown Toronto where members of the public can also watch the recordings. Okay, so a few people are going to see this. They're going to record it on their fucking phones, and they're going to show it. That's the stupid... God damn. Canada, you are retarded. Okay. Or just Canadian judges, you are idiotic. Okay. Westphal, blah, blah, blah. Also demanded the court, without the psychiatrist, there'd be no defense. Okay. The problem, defense lawyer Boris Betensky said, is that Westphal is the only psychiatrist prepared to testify that Manassian is not criminally responsible for his actions on April 23rd, 2018, when he drove a van down a busy Toronto sidewalk, killing 10 people and injuring 16 others. But giving in to the doctor's demands would infringe on the court constitutionally held right of the public and the media to an open court, Malloy noted. The judge was livid that a witness forced her into that position, which was made more complicated because she cannot compel someone outside the court to testify. But yeah, I'm where the buck stops in terms of Mr. Manassian having a fair trial. Okay. Oh yeah, angry reaction of autism defense. Yeah. Basically, it's just because he said that his autism caused him to kill these people. People are upset. And of course, like I say, incel is so overused. And it's just like Nazi incel. It's just such a cheap insult. But yeah. Transgenderism is bourgeois decadence. Yeah. Intersectionally can be integrated with revolutionary ideology or can be integrated with neoliberalism. It's a rather vague theory. All right. I mean, if you want to say that, okay. But yeah, intersectionality goes against materialism as far as I know. Is materialism should be able to help anybody. It shouldn't be worried about, just white supremacy versus also intersects with misogyny or what. It's like, it makes it more complicated. It splits people up more. You're supposed to be preaching class consciousness. Let me check the phone right quick. Just talk amongst yourselves. Oh, of course. Oh, we're playing this game. We're playing that game. All right. Hello. What's going on? Uh-huh. Okay, then. Okay. Bye. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to end this stream, folks. Sorry about that. The thing is, the left always has some validity as is put back against crude class reductionism. Lenin talked about how communists should be tribunes of the people. Oh, God damn it. Hold on. Hello? Yeah. What can we do for you? Oh, that's awful. Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay. People are begging for money. All right. I'm going to try to end this pretty soon, but yeah. The thing is, the left always has organic divisions. We need to address that in order to build real unity among the working class. Pretending the divisions don't exist is like turning a blind eye to the real problems. The divisions are going to cause people to get killed. That's the difference. I'm not saying to ignore it, but I'm saying is that those divisions, regardless of how it is going to cause people to be killed en masse. That's a reality. You can go ahead and talk about white supremacy and also misogyny all you want to, but it's like, okay, you're just going to kill the bigger perpetrators. That's ultimately what I say. But yeah, what's going on, folks? I guess I'm going to have to end this stream pretty soon. Apologies, folks. I was going to talk about a similar George Floyd event that happened in Brazil. I saw that there's basically a dark-skinned Brazilian gentleman who was killed by mall security, and it was done in a similar way. And it's basically Brazil is gonna have another summer of 2020 in their country. Basically, is what's going to happen. But yeah, that's my view of it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on it. I think that solidarity is nice to say, but yeah, let's remove the revisionists. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, might as well at this point. I'm just saying is that this idea that intersectionality goes with this. Can we just watch this? I wish we could, but apparently I have to go out. We're going to have to go out and get lunch. So I'm going to have to end it pretty soon here. But I hope y'all have a good day. I will give my props to my audience. Apologies. So Nosbold Jedi, Lives No 1975, Rod Dog, Misogyny and White Supremacy has weakened the U.S. left. non-white communities should develop independence from the white American left like the Black Panthers did. Yeah, but what happened with the Black Panthers, though? We keep on getting into this argument. What happened with the Black Panthers? Yeah, BPP, yeah, related to white left from an independent position of power. It's a matter of opinion, but all right. I hope you'll have a good rest of the day. See you later, and goodbye.